Gotcha. All right, guys. We are live. Let's get this show on the roll. Roll. I did not do my tongue exercises before the show.
Fail.
So, anyway, guys, I'm Extermicide, your host, and welcome to the show. And if you've been here before, great. And if you haven't, you're in for a freaking treat, because this is the show where we sit there and talk all things Ashes of Creation. And sometimes we don't quite agree on things, and I'm kind of hoping that's going to happen tonight. And I do want to freaking start off by giving apologies for last week's episode. Now, we try to keep these episodes under, between an hour and a half. We do realize that not everybody wants to watch a show on YouTube that's 2 hours long. You can't commit to that kind of time, all the time. And that's why, we're all content creators too, and we also make videos on the side, and we make shorter versions of these same topics. But there's a lot of people out there who want all the information they can. They've watched all the freaking videos that are out there, and they're still hungry for more information. And that's where we fill in that gap. They come in, and that 2 hour show is like a special bonus. Roar wants to say something. Okay, you kept tapping the transmit button. Okay.
I'm just making sure everything's working.
Okay. So we are going to do our best to keep this one under 2 hours. Last week should not have gone that long because it was a simple topic. It was just about races. But lordy, man, we had a lot to talk about just for something as simple as races. So this week, I really wanted to dive into PvP. And I thought maybe at first that, is it possible to squeeze all this into one episode? And the more I looked at it, no freaking way. Ashes just has a lot more PvP in it than you would possibly freaking imagine. And they don't really advertise themselves as a PvP game. They got this whole, we're PvX, but there's a lot more PvP going on than you would freaking realize. There's many different kinds of PvP, but for the purpose of this show, okay, we can take any of these kinds of PvPs that are out there, and we could have a show on that particular kind of PvP all on its own. But for the purpose of this particular show, I want to skip things like caravans. I want to skip castle sieges and node sieges and objective-based guild wars. Tonight, we are going to talk about anything that directly relates itself to the corruption system. Okay, so this is going to be more your ganking PvP. The bad boy PvP, okay? The PvP and whether or not you get punished or not. This is the PvP we want to touch base on tonight. And before we even begin, I want to ask each of you a question. If you had to rate yourself, okay, as far as being a PvP player versus a PvE player, how would you balance your numbers? So like for me, I would say that I'm probably 60% PvP, 40% PvE. Okay, so the first number you give me is your PvP and then your PvE. How do you feel you fall into most MMOs?
I'm gonna lean 10 to 15% PvP, and the majority of it's gonna be PvE. That's where I have my comfort zone. That's what I like. So,
okay.
I would probably go 40% PvP. It's become less important for me over the years, just because of it's just become more of an arena system and more of a ranked system in a lot of games. And I just liked to PvP for fun, years and years ago. And now it's just becoming more of a chore than fun. And a lot of games have done away with like just world PvP. And so PvE, like 60% would probably fill more of my playtime now.
60% PvP?
No, 60% PvE, 40% PvE. Like, I don't care about battlegrounds and rated arenas. Like, they're fun. I do them. But, man, I just like walking through and you just see some guy and want to kill him. You can kill him and move on with your life. And, I was just
Okay.
I was just having this conversation with some guys on my Discord. We posted a video of some classic PvP with this rogue taking on 3 mages in World of Warcraft, dude, and it was just so cool. And then that to me is what matters.
I gotcha. The reason I wanted to ask this particular question is because I and you guys are probably gonna, especially with the numbers you just gave me, you're probably gonna disagree with me on this. But I'm almost to the belief now that if you are not around that 50% mark with PvP, Ashes may not be what you think it is. And with Ghandex being at 15% PvP, I knew you were going to be lower, and I know damn well you and Roar are going to butt some heads tonight. So
let me elaborate on the way I view PvP. I love world PvP. I always have. That's why I pretty much after Burning Crusade, it kind of died in WoW, and the only thing you do is Battlegrounds, where you had to actively go to an event versus a world PvP. I like world PvP. I will participate in world PvP.
You'll be able to use those in game when the game goes live.
That's where that number comes from. So, I enjoy PvP. I just don't want to have to work to go get to it, and I want it to be different every time.
I get you. Okay. Hold on 1 second here. Okay. So I just pulled up on my stream, and I'm going to give you guys a second to do this on yours if you need to too. You've seen it 100 times, especially if you've been following this game for a while, though, the corruption chart. So if you need to pull that up, you need a second to pull that up on your stream, by all means, go ahead. I also had it linked in Discord earlier. But for those not familiar with this chart, I had Ghandex go ahead and prepare a description as to what we're looking at, what this chart actually entails.
Okay, so we're looking at a flow chart, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory when you look at it. Breaks it down into 3 columns. You have non-combatant, combatant, and then corrupted. And then it breaks down.
And then just let me. The reason I want to do this is some people might be joining us for the first time. They don't know what Ashes Creation is at all. Yes. So I want this to be a description for them.
So a non-combatant is obviously someone who isn't participating in PvP. On a regular basis. A combatant is someone who is flagged for PvP, who is ready to accept it. And a corrupted player is one who attacks people, just usually for malicious intent. And then they gain corruption based on whether that opponent defends themselves or not, or if they just go about their business. So with the flowchart, we go with non-combatant. If a non-combatant attacks a non-combatant, they become a combatant. If a non-combatant attacks a combatant, they become a combatant. So you just kind of, follow it. Pretty simple. If a non-combatant attacks a corrupted player, that non-combatant remains a non-combatant. That's the big part right there.
Which is good for someone like me, because I've trained myself in every MMO that I've ever played, whether it's faction-based or not. If they're red, they're dead. That's my little thing. Red is dead. And so now in this, I can be a non-combatant. I see a red, I can still go after him, and I'm not going to take any penalty for that whatsoever.
Yes, some people are going to confuse that with a combatant versus someone who's corrupted. There should be some indicator visually, but where you should be able to easily identify, but we don't know yet. But I can see a lot of people defending themselves against a combatant, and then they themselves become a combatant, and if they die, then that person who's attacked does not gain any corruption points. So, and then did you want me to touch base on the other 2 trees, or
I just wanted you to give a basic idea of the chart. So yeah. Guys, you can pull this up in Google, just do an Ashes Creation corruption chart, and you should be able to find this chart. And it's what the combat in the game is going to be based on. Not all combat. So like I said, there's a lot of combat. There's a lot of PvP, like caravans, castle sieges, node sieges. These are all considered battlegrounds or mobile battlegrounds, which will never have the corruption system attached to them. This is when you see that guy over there and he's harvesting and you say, shit, I'm going to go steal his stuff. I feel like being bad. This is for you. This is the information you need to be aware of. So with that said, I'm not missing anything there, right?
I don't believe so. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it's just for the people who want to do that. This is valuable information for everybody. The biggest takeaway I see from this chart is that far right column of the non-combatant part, where a non-combatant attacks a corrupted player, they remain a non-combatant. I think that's the most important thing on this entire chart.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That's as long as they don't fight back?
No. If you are a non-combatant and a corrupted player attacks you, you can fight back all you want, and you will remain a non-combatant.
Gotcha.
It's if you fight back against a combatant, you will then become a combatant. So it's a little tricky and it's a little weird at first, but I do believe that little is the most important.
Gotcha. Okay, so we may refer back to this chart from time to time, but guys, like I said, if you ever need to look this up, just look up Ashes of Creation corruption chart. There should be different versions of this freaking chart, but it should be pretty much really easy to find. Okay, so with that said, I did not, like I said, I don't want to go over on time this week. So I did not prepare a crap load of freaking questions this time. And I honestly don't think there's a need to, because I think, you know, the discussions are going to at some point get nice and deep and everything. But the next, I do have one question that I do want to direct at Roar right now. Because I'm really interested in how he's going to word this. I love the way this man words things. So, there is a saying, there's something that the developers bring up, a term that they bring up all the time, and that being risk versus reward. And I want to know, Roar, what does risk versus reward mean to you as far as PvP goes, especially towards the corruption system and everything? What does it mean to you?
It's, you know, to me, it's what every MMORPG should be. We've heard time and time again that there's no participation award. If you want something, you have to try, and there's a good chance that you will fail. And that to me is what I need in a game. You know, I want there to be consequences to my actions. If I see a guy running down the road and I know, you know, I've been running down the road myself and I see this guy picking a lot of herbs, and I know to myself that this guy's got some good stuff for me. But at the same time, before you just run over there and pull the trigger and start fighting this guy, you got to think to yourself, what if I die? And how much corruption will I gain if I kill him? How many, you know, what are the odds that I'm going to get some good loot from looting this guy? What happens if I'm in the middle of this fight and another guy shows up in the middle and they decide to gang up on me? I don't know if he's got friends in the area. And that's where the risk versus reward comes from. There's always going to be a risk in games like this. There absolutely should be. And I think that everybody has to go into that game knowing this. And if they don't, I don't think they're going to have a very good time. But they're going to learn quick. And that's the good thing, I think.
Gotcha. Anything to add to that game?
I mean, I think he filled it out pretty well right there. It's all about being. If you're gonna do any action, you have to be prepared for the consequences, whatever they may be, that are gonna follow. So,
okay. It's a game like this that adds an infinite possibilities. You have to be aware and cognizant of what's going to happen if you decide to jump into this situation.
I get you. Okay, so at the very beginning, at the very start of this, I did mention that I believe that there's much more PvP involved in this game than what people actually realize. A question that we had visited before, and I'm going to direct this more towards Roar because you'll remember this question, Ghandex, and you pretty much answered it before, and I might have you actually touch base on it again. For a first-time player, Roar, a person who has never played any MMO ever, okay, do you think Ashes of Creation is going to be a good first MMO for that type of player?
I think yes and no, and there's two reasons for that. One, because of us, social media, YouTube, Twitter. There's information everywhere, so no one should be going into this type of game, this style of game, this massive grand design of a game without any idea, unless they've been living under a rock. You know what I mean? And at the same time, no, because MMOs are massive undertakings, and it's a lot more than just like your standard FPS. You load into a match, you reload your gun, and you go shoot people. Like, you literally have so much to comprehend and deal with that it is going to be really even experienced MMORPG players that have been out of the game for a while. I think it's going to be massively overwhelming. But at the same time, with the internet being what it is today, there's a plethora of information out there that anybody should be able to find what they need to find and really understand what they're doing.
And I wholeheartedly agree with you. I believe even for an experienced MMO player, this game is going to have a learning curve for everybody. It's a bit more than what we could possibly, and that's if everything gets delivered. Steven is putting a lot on his freaking plate here. And I've said this before too, 100 times over. If he delivers on half of what he says is going to be in this game, I still think the game would be a success. But if he puts everything into it, that old freaking thing of people saying there's nothing left for me to do, I can't see anyone ever saying that about this freaking game. There's going to always be something to freaking to do, something to freaking level, a different route to go down. And maybe you've been playing this certain style and you think you have nothing to do now. Well, go explore religion for a little bit. Explore that holy side of you and get those buffs, or become a freaking pirate in the damn world. Explore a different aspect of your gameplay that you normally don't play, because there's going to be so much in this freaking game. And
and you're exactly right. And like, as experienced as I am, I've played them all, and I usually try to go above and beyond and do everything that I can to experience these games. And even my own brain is getting overwhelmed when I'm trying to just wrap my head around everything that this game's going to have, and it's massive.
What's really funny to me is with the limited amount of information that they've carefully leaked out to us and everything, the amount of different topics that we as content creators are able to create from this limited amount of information. And damn well there's stuff in this game that they haven't even freaking told us about yet, that's going to be released down the line, and we're going to be like, oh shit, that too? Ghandex, anything? Do you want to change your answer from maybe last time a little bit?
No, I mean, I was kind of on the same boat that Roar's in. It's a fine line. I think it's going to be a great experience where if they're a new MMO player, they won't be tainted by who failed to deliver on stuff, and won't necessarily have like work not like what we are, because we played so time. We've been following this game for over 3 years now. There's so much information that you have to know, and you don't have to know it, but there's so much information. It's all intertwined, and it all works in complex ways. And we don't even. I mean, we're barely scratching the surface. I think. I mean, I think there's such a deep treasure trove of information here. It's going to be overwhelming for people at the very get-go, but hopefully, it's one of those games that's easy to learn, hard to master, and not the other way around.
Gotcha. No, I agree. You're lagging just a little bit every now and then, but it's not so damn bad that you're not transmittable. We're making do with it.
I think it's Discord again.
Well, I'm hearing Roar. Okay, so anyway,
maybe it's me then.
So I'm gonna throw a little hypothetical thing out there. Okay, so because in a minute we're gonna actually get into the whole thing and just start talking about gankers and all this crap and everything. And maybe this will actually lead to it. With the limited amount of fast travel that we are going to have in this game, how do you think that's going to affect PvP in this game? Anyone want to jump on that?
I think there's going to be a lot of influences. Gatherers come to mind specifically. People who are also farming dungeons. They're going to have to traverse either on roads, or they're going to have to traverse through rough terrain to get back to town, back to their freehold, whatever the case is. If they're traveling with a party, it's going to be a lot safer. But I can guarantee, just like we said, there's going to be pirate guilds. There will probably be bandit guilds as well. Camping on roads, camping on known trails, ambushing people and taking their stuff. And that's an unfortunate reality, but that is a reality.
Dude, you know what? Some of remember the episode we did where I asked what your favorite MMO was, and then what MMO was the worst favorite, and I said World of Warcraft for both. This is exactly why I gave World of Warcraft as an example for both and everything. Some of my best memories were in World of Warcraft, but some of my worst memories were in World of Warcraft. But one thing I loved about that game is when I'm transversing, when I'm traveling down that road, when I'm going through the damn woods or whatever, constantly looking over my shoulder. I'm constantly looking for that red. If I'm going down that road and I see a group of red up there, it's like, oh fuck, turning around, I'm not going that way. I believe an MMO should have some sense of danger in the world, that you're always looking out for. And you've said it before, you don't like things handed to you, and have being handheld and everything. I believe that these people who like to have a lack of PvP and no PvP at all and not have that kind of danger in the world, again, I don't think this is going to be that kind of game for you. There's going to be crafting galore here, and you're going to love that kind of shit. But someone like you, Ghandex, with the 15% PvP, you're going to be one of these guys I think is going to freaking absolutely, after a while, be rage quitting on this freaking game.
So again, it's 15% where I will go to a battleground, or I will go to, do arenas. It's like that. Again, I love World PvP. When I played on, original WoW, played on a PvP server. WoW Classic, I played on an RP PvP server.
But again, I'm reeling you back into the subject of this video is
I know,
corruption system of PvP.
Giving you an example. Don't loop me into the whole 15%. I love World PvP. So I'm not gonna be one of the people that just rage quits if they die. Those bandits that we're talking about, or that I mentioned, the bandit guilds, they might not just straight up kill you. They might be like, hey, look, you pay us some money, we'll let you go through. So people might be able to be reasoned with.
You're right. They might be. We've always seen these guilds that are like, hey, if you want this, give us some gold or we'll just kill you, and that happens. But as far as like the mount thing and traversing the map and getting around, like Ashes of Creation is obviously going to have paths that allow us to just sit in town and be like a merchant or whatever. But even your towns aren't safe in this game. Like the majority of stuff in this game is going to require us to go out in the world to level up nodes, level up our own stuff, gather our own professions, get our own gear, whatever. And it's there's people that, like, we keep mentioning WoW, and WoW's a great example for World PvP. Not the current iteration of WoW, but like anything, vanilla BC Wrath of the Lich King, when World PvP actually meant something. Like, think back to early content creators for this game. They literally make their content, their living, off of going out and ganking. They'll put together a video a day, a 20-minute video of them just going out and killing players for no reason at all. And the corruption system is there, and it matters, and corruption's gonna happen. But that's the appeal, right? That's what content is. People want to see you taking those rewards. And as far as content creators dictate the games today, I think that's going to be a huge factor. Like, viewers are going to want to watch their favorite streamer go out and get all kind of corruption and try and escape that and kill people and take their stuff. And I think it's going to be more relevant than we believe.
Oh yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Me and Ghandex had this conversation offline a few nights ago, and excuse me. And I asked him, you know, you're going to be streaming this freaking game now. Do you think people are going to want to watch you for 2, 3, 4 hours sitting there banging your freaking hammer and creating swords all freaking day, or going out there and gathering your ore and everything? Nah, you eventually, if you bore them to death, they're going to go and they're going to watch somebody else. And where the content is going to be is whether or not you do it solo or you group up with some other guys and you just turn on the bad boy button and you decide, hey, let's go make some freaking content. Oh, there's some poor soul over there. We actually got into the conversation, and actually, I don't know if this is planned. I wish they would add this, but maybe you know, or maybe you don't agree with it and everything. I'm actually kind of hoping that they'll have some sort of I know that Steven is working directly with Discord to put Discord chat directly into the game. I did read this. So the in-game chat is actually going to be a Discord system. So it'll make it easier when the raids go and everything. I guess if you're dealing with maybe you created a random party in town or whatever. Regardless, I'm wondering if at some point, if maybe we'll have some kind of actual proximity voice chat. I would love it if you could, because me and Gannett got into a little conversation and say, yeah, okay, you know what? I'll tell you what, if you strip your clothes and dance for me, we'll let you freaking live. If not, we're going to kill you and take all your shit. That, as horrible as that sounds, if you're the freaking victim and everything, that's content. And I can see a bunch of freaking streamers out there freaking just doing stupid shit like that, or masking their voice and just freaking, I'm a little old lady, please don't hurt me, and then freaking whooping ass, that shit's funny. You can make some real funny videos. Do you think possibly they could have any kind of proximity chat put into it?
I don't know as far as proximity chat. I do know that there will be voice chat for groups and parties and raids and stuff like that built into the game. As far as proximity chat, I'm not sure. I mean, that would be a good suggestion for their forums, I think, because when you mention that sort of thing. And by the way, real quick, touching back on what you said about people wanting to watch you bang hammers, I disagree with that. There are some people that do like just a chill stream, man. They just want to hang out with their favorite streamer and watch them do, just rudimentary stuff and not go out and kill people. But at the same time, when we touch on that subject, I think about Sea of Thieves. Have you guys played Sea of Thieves?
I've watched a lot of Summit 1G playing that Sea of Thieves. It's entertaining.
Sea of Thieves is massively entertaining, and they have opt-in voice chat. And there has been some times, and again, it's all PvP. Like you have no reason to talk to people but to steal their cargo. And that's what I was talking about. Like, your viewers want to see you do crazy PvP things. Like Summit 1G is a good example. Like, he literally hid on the back of this guy's boat for 3 hours. He laid down and he wasn't even moving. He just laid down on the back of this guy's boat and hid for 3 hours while his chat watched, just waiting for these guys to collect enough treasure before Summit would jump up and unveil himself and just screw over this whole team. Like, that's content, like pre-planned, just screwing over another player. But some of the voice chat we've had in that game has been really, really funny. Like,
another game that comes into mind to me is PUBG with having the voice chat and everything. And some of the content from some of these guys is freaking hilarious. It doesn't even have to come from the content creator himself. It's that victim. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. And they'll do almost anything not to be freaking killed in the freaking game. And some of that shit's just freaking just gloriously freaking funny. I'm not saying that they need to cater to the freaking, to the content creators in this game, but I'm hoping they have little stuff like that that makes our job easier to sit there and just bombard YouTube with some freaking really good quality, funny content.
I completely agree, and I think that voice chat, like proximity chat, would be really cool. But like in PUBG, you know, I don't know if you ever played in the early days when they allowed PUBG to have voice chat in the pregame lobbies, and you had 100 people in there running their mouths. It was obnoxious, and that's my issue with this. If you get a 40-man raid versus a 40-man raid, it's just going to be nonstop. Like, it's going to be overwhelming. Or like you're in a town with 200 other people, like, and everybody's talking to each other. Like, that to me would be hard to balance for them to figure out. Like, obviously it would be an opt-in system. You either want to be in the voice chat or you don't. But if you're in a populated area, that's going to be just awful, I think.
They can sit there and do something as simple as on your interface, a toggle just for the purpose of turning on and off proximity chat. Something that simple.
So there are ways to do a proximity chat that will work, where people will be louder and quieter depending on distance away from you. So it'll help limit, fighting, a 40-man raid. But at the same time, it's going to be a lot on the back end, because every person, every character is going to have their own individual, basically it's going to originate from them. Each character is going to have their own proximity. So that's where things will get a
But
little
it's
dicey.
it's being done in like these other games that we've mentioned. So I really don't
Not
think
with
it's going to
10,000
be
people
that hard.
on the server simultaneous. So
Right. Yeah. When you get enough people in an area, it is obnoxious and terrible. But back to the matter at hand, proximity chat for world PvP purposes would be amazing. Like, imagine being a rogue sneaking up behind the guy and you're like, I'm coming, and the guy's gonna be like, what the hell was
Or
that?
just hiding in the bush.
Right.
I'm behind you.
Dude, it would be the content creating part of that would be insane, but that's neither here nor there when it comes to the corruption system.
Okay. Would you yourself actually create content like that and have some fun with it? Are you that type of person?
Absolutely.
You're my new best friend.
100%.
I can't see Ghandex freaking doing this shit with me. I just.
It depends. It wouldn't be on my main character now, but it does depend.
Okay. Okay. So where are we?
Have to do some Yoda. Sneak up behind a guy in a rogue. I mean, you no harm. And just kill him.
Oh, the possibilities are endless, really. Honestly. Who's that one streamer? There's one streamer who does voices really freaking good. I can't remember his freaking name.
There's too many, man.
Yeah, but I mean, he does Trump and he does like the Family Guys, and then just to be able to all of a sudden pull out at that voice. But I mean, like the first time I've ever seen that done was I've never played PUBG. But I believe I started watching freaking some of the PUBG videos, and they would hide in the trunk of the car, and then the guys are driving down. A whole party of guys are freaking driving down the freaking road. He's in the fucking trunk, and then he would start saying something, and then they all jump out of the car, and they're looking around. Where the hell is he? They can't figure out where the hell he is. Shit was funny. All right, like I said, I didn't make a whole lot of questions here, but I'm going to touch base on this one. We constantly hear the argument that the reason people leave an MMO and that MMOs die is more because it is not hard enough and there is no challenge anymore. This is one of the reasons I have personally always been a pro PvP person. I believe that PvP adds a danger aspect to the world that always keeps you looking over your shoulder, and personally I like this. Thoughts?
Go ahead, Rob.
All right. I think the PvP aspect of this game it just adds another layer of complexity. Like, think about, you're right. People leave because there's not enough content, or the content was too easy. Like, we had this raid on Farm a month after it came out, and everybody's fully geared. Now we're just bored. We need something else to do. When you add in PvP to your raid fights, because there's not going to be a lot of instance content. So if you want to kill a raid boss, You have to organize your raid. You guys have to get down to the bottom of this dungeon and fight this raid boss in the open world. And yeah, you might know the mechanics, even though they're going to have like this weird scaling mechanic thing. You might know the mechanics and everything, and it might be an easy fight for you, but okay, well, there's another 40-man raid that just showed up. They also want that raid boss. And now it's like you have to plan for those things, and it's just a whole nother layer of complexity. It's not just, tonight's our casual raid night. We're going to go kill a boss, and then we're going to split and do our own thing.
2 years.
And now that might not ever happen. You might not even kill that boss that night,
I don't even think it has to be another 40-man raid party to screw you over. It could just be, just
anything. Like 10 people show up and just want to
show up and just target your healers. Just kill all your healers. And then if they die, it's like, whatever. Well, we killed your healers. You guys are screwed. You're going to wipe. So
well, and that's another interesting thing is I think back to my early EverQuest days. And in EverQuest, like World of Warcraft or whatever, you aggro something and you run far enough away, that mob just resets and runs back to where it came from, right? In EverQuest, there was no reset unless there was literally no other person for this mob to target. So monks, they had the same system in EverQuest that they have in Ashes, where like if you're down at a dungeon and you want a specific farming area, you have to be the first one there. Well, in Ashes, if you want that farming area, you can just run down there, kill that group, and now claim that room for yourself. In EverQuest, you couldn't do that. So what they would do is they'd get monks. Monks had feigned death, kind of like the hunters. They could literally just fall down dead and pretend to die. They would just gather a whole group of mobs, massive amounts of mobs, train these mobs down to that room and feign death, and then those mobs would immediately turn on that entire other group of players and wipe them out. It was a shit show, and it sucked. And that makes me think, like, how does aggro for mobs work in Ashes? Are we going to be able to train mobs onto other people? Like, imagine, like, there's a 40-man raid at the bottom of this dungeon, and they're trying to kill this boss. And one little guy just wants to be a troll, gathers 10, 20 mobs, runs down there, lets the mobs kill him, and then do the mobs just go back to where they came from and reset? Or do they start targeting all the other players in the area and take them out? Like, it's a whole nother layer of complexity, like, things to think about.
Yeah, and that's something we don't know yet, and we won't know. I don't even know if we'll find out in alpha, the first.
From what I've seen in some of the developer diaries, there was times where Steven went and aggroed a bunch of mobs, and as he was coming back, they were chasing him and everything, and the rest of the party pretty much didn't attack any of the mobs. So he came running back, and they eventually leashed back, and they didn't go after the party because nobody actually shot at any of the mobs. I think that would have been different if one of them had taken a pop shot at, the mobs as,
Right.
as they came up.
But remember, everything is still in development, so that could very well change.
Yeah, I think the mobs should absolutely, like, there should be a little bit of a reset mechanic. But at the same time, if there's somebody in close enough proximity to the guy that it's chasing, and they either die or feign death or get out of range, I think the mob should turn on the next guy there. Like, that's risk and reward. Like, you know that if you aggro this room, you might not be able to handle it, and you're going to have to run out of this room with these mobs chasing you, and you might wipe another party in the process. Like, I think that's a huge thing.
And this is something people need to keep in mind too, because you can have your little group that's going to go in and do a dungeon, and you may know that boss fight and everything already, but they may not be the most dangerous thing in that dungeon. You could have another guild camping the entrance, not even letting you in. That may be the bigger task at hand, is actually getting through the freaking front door just so you can try to get to that damn content and start freaking doing it.
Yeah, and I think I told you guys, I put that on Reddit. I asked, what's to stop a high-end guild, a very powerful guild, skilled guild, from shutting down an entire dungeon? And, they might not be able to control an entire dungeon, but they could definitely make it hell for some players. Absolutely.
Could you see that because of all this, and it being much harder to be able to actually do dungeons compared to other MMOs that we played, and the whole thing with, even for the crafters, having to move items to go and actually craft legendary items or whatever, do you think that we may see a lot less legendary type items in this game than we had in other MMOs, just because of how much harder it is going to be able to obtain them?
I mean, no idea. I can't even speak to that just because we don't know how many dungeons and raid bosses are going to be active at one time. We don't know how many legendary items are going to be in the game. You know, that I would imagine that, like I told you guys the other night, like nobody wants anybody to have anything nice. Unless you're completely alone and killing this boss that drops that item that you want, there's always going to be conflict. No amount of players that also want that item are just going to sit there and let somebody kill something and loot it. It's not going to happen. So it's hard to say. I really don't know until we get in and find out. Like, it's hard to say.
You're very quiet, Ghandex.
Yeah, just been a busy couple days, but yeah, no, I agree. It's too early to tell. I don't think we're gonna be flush with legendary items. I think it's gonna be kind of. I'm hoping it's similar, more toward vanilla WoW, where they existed, but they were few and far between, and it took a lot of effort to get them.
That's what I want.
But I don't think I'm hoping.
But I remember
like
going to like Molten Core with my guild, and there might be a lot of horde there at the entrance, and you kind of fight your way through. But once you got to that entrance, that portal that got you inside Molten Core, you were safe because you're in the instance now. And what we're talking about is freaking dungeons that are not instance. You know, the bosses are not instance. And, you know, things that are going to be interfered with by not mobs that are in the dungeon, but other players just being pricks because they don't want you to get the shit. They want to kill the boss and get the shit.
Yeah. It's going to be a challenge one way or another. I don't believe that there's only going to be one entrance into a dungeon. I'm going to assume there's going to be bare minimum 2, possibly up to 5 entrances into a dungeon. So it's going to be harder for one guild to lock it down. It's not impossible, obviously, but it's going to be harder. That, and there should be plenty of guilds, I think, or not guilds, dungeons, that if someone is just being a douche and locking down a dungeon, people, and it's going to suck to have to travel, but you can go somewhere else to do a dungeon.
Right, I agree with that. Like that, and you know that when I posted this question on Reddit, that was a lot of answers I got. You know, and they said, take out. You know, players are going to band together and they're going to take out these guys, or you know, just go somewhere else. Or if they piss you off enough, like just destroy the node that created that dungeon, get it out of there. You know, take it out. And those are all valid possibilities. And you know, and you're right. I don't think there's going to be just one single entrance to these dungeons and stuff, but it would be hard to imagine that the main boss room would have multiple entrances. Most of the time, you know, it's just one way in, one way out. In most games, you know, Ashes might be doing it differently, but and if one guild wanted to shut down that boss, I think they'd have a better time trying to do that than shut down the whole dungeon. But it's all possibilities, man. It really is.
Now, the one video that we've seen several times where they've gone in to that huge dungeon, they work their way down and they fight that dragon down there. Now that one looked like they actually stepped through a portal to get where the dragon was, and I kind of thought to myself that part of it, fighting that final boss, was instance.
I agree. They didn't clarify, they didn't say, but they definitely zoned into that. And I don't know if it's going to be like an instance lockout or what.
You know, on that aspect, I'm hoping so, because you know, you work your way out, because that dungeon was big too. You know, they were flying mounts inside there, and that place was freaking huge.
Yeah, like even with the mount, it took them a good 10 minutes to get to the back of that thing.
You know, and that's them with their freaking putting their superpowers on their characters and everything. You know, when this thing is populated with all the freaking mobs and you got just your limited amount of health and everything, it's going to be a couple hours to get down that freaking deep, I believe. And then maybe another hour just for that freaking boss fight, you know. So I would really hate to spend and dedicate that much freaking time to get all the way down there to get to that freaking last boss, just to have another group of people come in and screw it all up for you. And then you try it again the next night and they do it again, you know, and it keeps repeating. That would suck ass.
But I think because the dungeon is going to be so large, and that should be most of them are going to be quite expansive, it's going to be not impossible, but it's going to be hard for people to follow you down there without running an interference. So, and I don't know what the respawn times for mobs are and whatnot, but if you're pushing for a boss, you're going to clear a path, obviously. So unless someone's right behind you within a few minutes, they're not. I don't think they're going to be able to get there quickly. You know what I mean? They're not going to be able to get there in time to cause a huge disturbance. So while they still can, I don't think it's going to be.
I don't know if I get to a freaking
A huge
entrance
issue.
here and I see no mobs whatsoever. It's like, come on, guys, it's already been cleared for us. I'm gonna freaking race because I know there's no freaking mobs. They might respawn anytime. Let's freaking get going.
Mhm.
And if they're up ahead and they're fighting freaking mobs, they're gonna be much slower than us running up on them.
Well,
It
you know,
depends.
and that's a good indicator. You know, that's always in these types of situations. That's always an indicator that there's somebody up there. But you know, at the same time, the amount of people that may or may not be right behind you really depends on the popularity of this dungeon, the drops in the dungeon, the amount of players in the area. You know, how many active other farming spots are there right now with all the other nodes? Like, we're talking about 10,000 people servers. Like, you're never going to be anywhere alone. It's not going to happen.
A little off topic is I know that these dungeons are supposed to be. What's the numbers for actually how big your group can be? I know the largest is 40. What's the other two numbers?
8, 25, and 40 or something like that.
So
I would say 24 if it's going to be, because it's supposed to be in groups of 8. So
right,
I would
that's right.
say it's 24 then.
So are there going to be?
I actually think it's 8, 16, and 40.
It might be. I don't remember the middle number.
So are there specifically going to be 8-player, group dungeons, or is it the same dungeon that 40-man people group would go into? But they're 40-man it, so it's going to be a little bit freaking. The bosses are going to be harder or whatever. Is it the same dungeon that scales itself, or is there going to be specific dungeons based on the size of your group?
According to Intrepid, there will be solo, group, and large group content. As far as specifically for dungeons, I don't know. Maybe some of the areas of the dungeon would be scaled for smaller, but some would be higher.
So yeah, for my understanding, it's going to be kind of a progression system. Like the farther down, we'll say, we're going vertical. The farther down you go in the dungeon, progressively the harder it gets. So at some point, you're not going to be able to push with that 8-man group. You're going to need to go to the next tier up, and eventually you'll need a raid to get to the very bottom of it. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but that's how I'm interpreting the information.
No, I think you're pretty spot on, honestly. Give me a second. I'm going to step away for 2 seconds. I have my headset on. I can hear you guys.
All right.
Gotcha. So I'm kind of wondering also if we know that they're trying to make it so, and this is, again, I'm trying to stay on topic here, but sometimes our topics kind of go off topic a little bit. So we know that they're trying to make every class type viable for different reasons. And I think, what is it? Like mages can detect hidden magical doorways or rogues
something
can,
along those lines. Rogues can find traps and hidden doors, etc.
Right. So I'm wondering if we'll end up seeing something like, oh, the rogue just found a hidden door here, and you open it, and on the other side of it is a freaking another guild that's just waiting to gank people. They're waiting for someone to open up that freaking door, and they're going to be there waiting for them.
That's assuming you can get through the door, and I assume those doors will have some kind of cooldown on them before they, reseal. But that's assuming you can get around to the other side of the door and just wait there, which I don't know. Who's gonna have the patience for that? Like, just waiting for someone to show up
for content.
I don't know.
I mean, I guess I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. The most dangerous people in this freaking game are going to be the content creators, and there's a lot of them. The big guys, like Asmongold and Tim the Tapman and Summit. They're all talking about getting on the same server with one another. And that's freaking great because.
And I hope they do, and I hope it's
stay away from streamer servers, man.
Exactly, man. I don't want nothing to do with that. I will make my own content and everything, but I don't want to deal with all these freaking streamers who are teaming up and going against one another and killing everyone else who gets in their way. They're not going to have any gripe about killing anybody if it's going to get them one more subscribe. You know, it's as simple as that.
Dude, it's frightening. Were you guys watching Asmongold's content when Classic WoW first launched last year?
No.
He organized a raid. It was like what, 540 mans he got together to go raid Orgrimmar? Just by his Twitch chat. Everybody come over, we're gonna go raid. 540 man raids showed up at Orgrimmar's front door. Like, that's the power the streamer's gonna have over these types of games. And it's at the same time it's game breaking and it's a little disheartening, but at the same time it's really amazing because that's the MMO aspect of these games.
Now, going back to the whole fast travel question I asked earlier, do you think a streamer would be able to pull something off like that in this game? You know, because travel actually matters, you know.
I don't know if they'll be able to pull off something at that large of a scale, because the more people you have, the longer it's going to take to move them. That's just raw numbers there.
I mean, it was really easy in a game like WoW where you could everyone had flag mounts and you could just teleport across the freaking, you know, the world and shit.
In this, it's not going to be so easy. So
this would have to be something like, okay, tomorrow we're going to attack such and such town. Everybody meet up at this particular town.
At this time, yeah, it's going to have to be a planned thing. I don't think it's going to be spontaneous.
But then something like that also too allows them to actually build up a defense, and they're going to read about it. They're going to hear about it. They're going to know about it.
Well, you know, and that's the thing too. It's like I don't think the fast one again. We got to get in game. Like we've heard the square footage of the map or the square mileage of the map, and it's massive. Blah blah blah. But like, you know, when you're thinking about what I just explained with Asmongold, organizing all these people, there was no fast travel in WoW either. Like they had to started in Stormwind and took a boat, showed up at Ratchet, and then, you know, all the little Lobby hordes started sounding the alarm. Like it took a good long while for them to get over there. It was pretty impressive though.
Yeah, but you can fit, you know, 5 40-man raids on one boat. Right. You won't be able to do that in Ashes.
Boats will have we don't even know what they're going to have.
We don't, but we do know there will be a limited capacity. Same with the airships. If there's 2 scientific nodes, those will have a limited capacity.
Right, but I mean,
what I understood, there was 3 different size of boats as far as capacity goes.
I don't know what the size.
I'm almost guessing that they're the same exact numbers as far as doing the raid content. A small group, a medium-sized group, and then the 40-man on one ship. I'm pretty sure, because they did.
Well, I mean, that's
some of those dungeons.
You're going to need to traverse water to get to where you need to be, too. You know.
Well, and there is dungeons out in the middle of the ocean. They've stated that, and out on islands.
But you're also going to need a guild that has a boat, a large boat, if you're going to do that, or you're going to have to charter one from someone who does have one. Like the small personal crafts that are single person and maybe party sized, those won't be hard to come by. The large ships, though, I don't see them being very populous unless it's from a guild that controls a metropolis node on a coast. That's the only time I can see them being numerous.
As far as this whole PvP in the corruption system goes and all that, do you think maybe if you're going to be a ganker and that's what you have your heart set on and that's what you want to do you think maybe being a pirate is going to be one of the safer ways of doing this? Because a bounty hunter, in order for them to come and get you, they're going to have a boat themselves already. And, you know, if you're a group of guys on a boat, I don't think a single bounty hunter is, you know, he's going to want to freaking join up with maybe several other bounty hunters.
So I think if you're going to be, you can go either way. Probably being in the water, being a pirate is probably safer with a group of people. But you could also be a bandit guild and be, you know, corrupted players and be inland. You know, as long as you're grouped together, obviously, you know, you're safer in numbers. Those bounty hunters will then have to team up, which might cause some conflict with the bounty hunters because they're going to have to compete over who gets, the reward.
Unless you're a bounty hunter guild.
Unless you are a bounty hunter guild.
Where
And even
everybody
then,
shares everything.
Yeah, I mean, even then, that there might
I
be
never
some
even thought of that.
conflict.
Do you think that something like that will actually exist? A bounty hunter guild?
Absolutely.
I never thought of it before, but Roar brought it up. I see zero reason why there shouldn't be one.
There's Elder Scrolls Online is a good example because you have different types of guilds. You can be trader guilds, you can be combat guilds, you can be PvP guilds. Like there's people that create guilds that only do PvP content. They don't care about PvE. Or there's only guilds that their main focus is only PvE. And then there's trader guilds in some games where all they do is want to gather resources and make money. Like, why wouldn't there, if you gave them an option to have a bounty hunter guild or a pirate guild or whatever, like why wouldn't, I would be all about that. It's gonna happen.
I can definitely see that. Yeah, I never thought about a bounty hunter guild, but I can definitely see that happening. So if there's gonna be pirates and bandits, which I can totally see, why not a bounty hunter guild?
We're down to the last 25 minutes before I'm going to call this, but this leads to the last question I did have written down. So let's talk about the bounty hunter system for just a little bit. So when a player ganks another player, he will become corrupted and will show up on the radar of the bounty hunters and allow the bounty hunters to come and deal with him. So just for a minute, let's imagine a level 20 person ganks a level 10 person and gets himself flagged as corrupted. Now let's imagine a level 50 bounty hunter sees this ganker on his radar. Can this level 50 bounty hunter hunt down and kill that level 20 ganker? And if so, did Intrepid add to the game kind of a legal way for higher level characters to gank lower characters?
I don't even think we can consider it a gank if somebody gets corrupted, and that goes back to the risk and reward and consequence that we were talking about. If a level 20 kills a level 10, he made the mistake and pulled the trigger, got a boatload of corruption, and now he's a bounty, and that right there is just, I don't even think we can call that a gank if a bounty hunter kills any level of corrupted player. That player became corrupted for a reason. It just didn't happen by accident,
But that's like your next door neighbor comes over, jumps your fence, and kills your cow, and then a tank comes in and freaking, oh, don't worry, I'll take care of him, and freaking blows you up with the freaking tank. Isn't that a little bit of freaking overkill?
I think that's the design.
I think when you add corruption into the element of PvP, you remove any level limitations. Like once you're corrupted, like you're free game. It doesn't matter.
Cause and effect.
You're making it's highly unlikely that you're going to accidentally go and gank a level 10. Because even when a level 50,
and I get that because what I'm thinking is I think you're, for the most part, because of the corruption system, and maybe I'm wrong on this, so please, if you think I'm wrong, just say so. If you decide to gank someone, you're probably a newer player, or probably a lower level character. You're going to freaking gank somebody. You're going to freaking all of a sudden find out what happens when you gank somebody, and then after that, you're probably going to be like, I ain't doing that shit again.
That's a possibility.
I think that's what most people's mentality is going to be. Now, if you're someone who's level 20 though, and you see a level 10 there and you go and gank them, then obviously you're doing it to be mischievous. And again, there could be many reasons for wanting to do that, as we've already covered and everything. But as far as what we've said too, that, okay, well, you flagged yourself for the punishment, so take what's coming to you. Do you guys like that system? Are you in complete 100% agreement with that system? Because I kind of actually, I still think levels should come into play where even a bounty hunter shouldn't be able to kill someone who's so much freaking lower than he is. He should be within a level range, of where where he's at.
To help put things in perspective, a level 50, and I'm not saying this isn't necessarily the case, but a level 50 shouldn't be able to go one shot a level 1 in this game. In theory. Because it should take, even levels should take between 30 and 60 seconds, for combat. So in theory, if you do the math right, you shouldn't be able to just go up and just one shot instantly a level 1. It should take probably 2 hits. And this is all theoretical. I don't know. I haven't seen it being tested. So therefore, if you're a level 20 going and fighting a level 10, you shouldn't be able. You can't just go in just one shot. You know, there's none of that's going to go on. So even if you hit him and you made a mistake and you back away, that's fine. You know, but if you're making a conscious decision to keep attacking someone, therefore you're going to get corrupted. And we don't know at what level. If you are level 20, you kill one level 10, you might not become fully corrupted. You might be in that yellow phase where you might not be on a bounty hunter's radar. It might be, that warning period where like, hey, watch what the hell you're doing. Because then if you do it again, because that's how it's supposed to work, is if you do it again, then you're going to be corrupted and then show up on a bounty hunter's radar. And then that's on you. You made that choice.
Right. So we know that there's going to be levels of corruption. And you get more corruption based off of the deed that you did. And you don't automatically, like, you get let's use it as let's view it as a point system. Let's say there's 10 points of corruption. At like 7 points and above, you're the most corrupted. You show up on a bounty hunter's radar. Like, it's going to take stages for you to get to that point. Now, they already said they want to kind of deter like low player griefing with the corruption system. So if you kill someone who's significantly lower than you, you're going to get more corruption. But if a level 50 rides through and kills a level 20, does that automatically make you the most corrupted? I mean, we really have no idea. And that, like Ghandex said, it's there's not been any discussions about it. There's not been a lot of testing on it. We haven't seen any of that. So I think
and
it
again,
all
I'm
remains to be seen.
assuming that if you're a bounty hunter, you're not going to get corruption regardless.
Yeah, if you're a bounty hunter, you are classified as a combatant. You're a special kind of combatant, but you're classified as a combatant. So if you follow this flow chart here, combatant kills corrupted, no change. You remain a combatant.
Right, and I think that even bounty hunters are going to fall under the same rules and guidelines as every other player. Like they were that system's designed to go deal with corrupted players. But if a bounty hunter is just riding through and wants to kill a combatant just because, like you said, proximity chat. Let's say you're riding by a level 30 and he goes, "Hey, douchebag," and you're like, "Oh, okay, you're dead now." Just for no reason at all. If a high-level bounty hunter, he's going to get corrupted as well. They're there to serve a purpose, and if they go beyond the boundaries and rules of that, I think they're going to fall into the same line.
And that also might play a negative impact on being part of a bounty hunter's guild, because as a bounty hunter, you choose a special role, basically, kind of like when you join a divinity. If you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you can incur some kind of negative penalty toward that role, you might have to do something to redeem yourself, if you get corruption, because that's not your goal. That's not your purpose. So same thing like with your deity. If you do something against like the thoughts, the ideology of your deity, you might be reduced in rank, or you might get kicked out,
Right. Like,
something like
that all comes down to the rules set by the guild leader and their officers. Like, this is stuff that we do not tolerate, and if you go beyond these and you get reported, by this player says, "Hey, I'm going to reach out to your guild," or whatever.
I wasn't talking about player guilds. I was talking about the actual bounty hunter role.
Oh, okay.
Because there is a special role,
right,
that you're going to have to sign up for effectively. So you might be kicked out of that. The game might punish you. And yeah,
Roar, did you say last time that you played Lineage?
It was very, very brief. I ultimately went with World of Warcraft, but yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I read somewhere that this whole corruption system was basically something that Steven borrowed from Lineage. It actually existed in that game.
So yeah, he's a big Lineage guy. That was his game of choice. And a lot of these corruption systems are, I don't know if they're like direct carbon copies, but they are heavily influenced by Lineage. Yes.
But you said you played for a short amount of time. My question was going to be, do you remember how well did it work? How well did the corruption system work? But
I can't speak to that. I don't know. We're talking like maybe a month back in like 03, 04 maybe. I don't even know.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, because Stephen,
The boys wanted World of Warcraft, so that's where I went.
Yeah, I know he's borrowing what he's saying is the best parts of most of these games, and I'm okay with that. Um, the way everything is right now with the corruption system, as we understand it right now, are you guys 100% cool with this corruption system, or do you think it needs to be tweaked somewhere?
I like the idea of it. We don't have enough raw numbers. We don't have enough actual facts or details for me to give a proper opinion on it. But I like the concept.
I like the concept.
I agree.
But at the same time, I still want to have that freedom to go out and be the guy that, makes you look over your shoulder all the time. There's got to be some of that stress factor in an MMO. And again, I'm a content creator. I'm gonna want to go out and freaking sneak around with my assassin and surprise, motherfucker, and kill somebody.
But you can still do that. You can still do that as long as you're fighting other combatants, and you don't have to worry about the corruption system. And even
I think there's going to be a lot more people flagged than we think there's going to be.
I think there's going to be probably 10% they're going to remain non-combatant. I don't think there's going to be a huge number. But even if you do kill a non-combatant and you gain a little bit of corruption, one kill shouldn't push you over the edge unless you're ganking level 1. It shouldn't push you over the edge to where you attract bounty hunters right away. It's when you do it repeatedly
that kind of goes back to what I was explaining last Sunday. Like, what's to stop players from getting a little corruption by killing 1 or 2 players, going out for 20 minutes, let that corruption fall off, come back and do it again. Like Ghandex said, we don't know. There's no information. We don't know anything except we have an idea and we have a template of how the system's going to work. But we actually don't have any clue.
But that 20 minutes that you talk of, it might not be 20 minutes. It might be an hour.
Exactly.
Or it could be 2 hours. It could be, I don't know. It could be a longer period of time. It could be a short period of time, like 20 minutes. But it could also be long. We just don't know yet. And until, Q2 of 2021, we probably won't find out, because I don't think they're going to give us a whole lot until
I don't think the corruption system's going to be that fleshed out for the alphas. I don't.
I can see it being for that month-long test, but not before that.
Right.
All right. And I actually think that's a good place to end this. I think we touched a lot of different aspects of the whole corruption system and possibilities. I'm not sure. I do remember that Ghandex did a self-plug at the beginning. I don't think I asked you. Do you have anything to self-plug, Roar?
What do you mean?
Twitter page, YouTube channel. Yeah, you want to give any news out to the freaking people who do follow you? Your fans from that follow you on burning discussions?
Not really. Like I said, my name is Roar. I stream on Twitch. I do YouTube content. You can find me under OMFG Roar. That's really all I got. Not really a big self promo kind of guy. I just enjoy talking about the game, man.
Okay. You guys can find me on YouTube under Extermicide. Recently I started a real info series of shorter topic videos and everything, and they're doing extremely well. And I thank those of you who have been checking them out and everything. But yeah, each of us have our own YouTube channel. Each of us have our own Twitch channel. Show us some love. Do some subscribes, some likes, whatever it takes, because it helps us out a lot and everything. But post a comment every now and then too, to let us know what you think of the show, because your feedback is going to be what drives us. If you tell us that we're doing something wrong, or we could improve upon something, let us know. We're all adults here. We got thick skins. We can take it. Okay, so let us know, and it's going to allow us to get better with each show. And I think every time we watch the past episode, each of us takes notes of what we could have done better. And then the next episode, we try to fix some of those things. If you notice the last show, none of us were facing the freaking camera. None of us were ever freaking smiling at everything.
You were facing the camera.
I'm perfect. What can I say?
I hope it was better today. I did make a lot of changes. So.
No, everything's great, guys, man. The cameras look good, the freaking coloring's good, the lighting's good, the sound is good, everything is freaking good. I think our little fan base there will be very pleased with it. Our last episode there, like I said, it ran very long, but it's got a lot of freaking views. So I'm actually, it tells me some of you guys are starving for the information. Did you want to say something, Ghandex?
No, I was
okay.
Adjusting my seating.
So that's about it, guys. Next Sunday, we will see you. We hope you all had a safe Halloween. And did everybody catch the Mandalorian? Oh,
yeah, I got conflicted feelings on that.
All right, I'm gonna jump out. I'll rejoin you guys here in a minute. And thank you.
All right,
sounds good.
Catch you,
guys.